Hey guys, it's Charlie. I'd like to talk about what's going on in Egypt right now, especially some developments that happened today. And to do this, I'm going to start in, of all places, the United States in 1980. And I know it sounds kind of confusing, but stay with me. I'm going to try to tie it all together by the end. In 1980, 1% of the wage earners of this country took home about 10% of the wealth of the nation. By 2008, not even 30 years later, 1% was taking home over 22% of the wealth of this nation. Between 2001 and 2007, 66% of the growth in income in this nation went to that same 1% of the people. And the first time in the history of this nation, banks own more real estate or residential real estate than the citizens of this country. Now, what I'm talking about is a distribution of wealth. Now, you've been trained, more than likely, if you follow the mainstream media, to believe that word, those words, distribution of wealth, is a synonym for socialism or communism. You've also been led down the path that it is patriotic for Wall Street to have record bonuses and to be completely healthy and free of sin, meaning they can gamble, lose, and not fail, too big to fail. You've been taught that, in order for this country to be healthy and you to be healthy financially, these banks had to be healthy. So, distribution of wealth, that's a crime, that's communism, that's socialism, too big to fail. That is the model that built the country. That's what's being sold to us almost on a daily basis. Now, this phenomenon isn't just in the United States, it's on the entire planet. Okay, 0.5% of the wealth, according to the Global Wealth Report, 0.5% control 35% of the world's wealth. So what we see is a distribution of wealth, a redistribution of wealth, and it isn't to socialist or communist spreading the wealth out. It's upwardly integrating this wealth into the hands of a very, very, very select few, 0.5%, in fact. They take 35% of that money, and in order to keep it safe from the citizens that they just fleeced it out of, they park 35% of that money in offshore, non-extradition, non-taxable countries so that their wealth is protected. And then they implode in economies. And when the economies implode, they take the central banksters of the world and lend money into those economies, making it the responsibility of the citizens to pay that debt back. Now, the governments can say we have to implement austerity and we have to raise our taxes so we can pay for the bailouts. It's the only way to keep the economy stable and to keep your future intact is if we spend our way into oblivion. But they don't ask the ultra-wealthy elite to pay this tax. In fact, they have no problem letting them park big chunks of it offshore so it can never be taxed. They ask the citizens to pay for it. So the citizens are the ones who get to flip the bill for all the crime of the financial terrorists who brought them to depression in the first place. Why am I talking about all this and trying to draw a comparison to what's happening in Egypt? Well, it's very simple. There's been a lot of people, myself included, looking for the angle on this Egyptian upswell, this rise of the people, this pushback of the citizens. I personally believe it's organic, just like I believe the Tea Party was organic, because I was involved with it. I was there under George Bush when people were taking to the streets saying enough is enough. The government has overstepped its bounds. They cannot spend this money to bail out these firms. The Patriot Act was a usurpation of our liberty, and the government needs to step back. That started organically. People they could care less about race, creed, gender. All the stuff that the Tea Party's labeled with now was not there in the beginning. The same way we see this upswell of citizenry in Egypt is going to be co-opted. How do I know this? Well, because the IMF came out today. Dominique Strauss-Kahn, from the head of the IMF, said that they're ready to go. They're ready to jump in and rescue the Egyptian economy. So what we're going to see, in my opinion, is another organic movement, these citizens being frustrated and pushing back against the tyranny, creating a vacuum of power in which the IMF can swoop in, further indebt a nation where 40% of the population lives under $2 a day, and enslaving that nation with debt. We've seen it happen country after country, and we see the results of the IMF's ingenious economic outlook for these nations. The outlook is simple. We'll lend them money till they become debt slaves, and then they will have no will. They will have to do what we tell them to do, and we will control every resource of that nation, including the citizens. And we will make that nation either a nation that produces with slave labor, and we can sell to a country that enslaves their people in debt so they can buy the garbage created with the slave labor. This is what's on track, and this was the aha moment when the IMF came out announcing today that they were ready to go to help the citizens of Egypt. But in truth, if the Egyptian people let this happen, if they let the IMF come in and so-called help them, they will be indenturing their children and their children's children to be nothing more than either free labor or indentured debt slaves. Stories are attached. That's all I got.